Good morning. Does this work? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for attending this presentation about the Bruges Triennial. My name is Shandy Garden, and I'm one of the curators for the upcoming edition in 2024. Today, I'm going to give you a brief tour about what the Bruges Triennial is about, its history, and also some practical information about the next edition. I don't know if you have ever visited one of the previous editions. The Bruges Triennial is a contemporary art and architecture festival in the city center of Bruges. So different artworks and installations go into an active dialogue with the UNESCO World Heritage City. That we do every 3 years, so we are now preparing the 4th edition in 2024, as I said. The previous one was in 2021, and the event occurs during spring and summer every 3 years. It's fully free, it's accessible in public space, so that means that there's a very low threshold to visit the installations. What we do every 3 years is that a curatorial team is appointed to select an overall team, so they set out a title and they invite a dozen of artists and architects, international and national names, who respond to this specific theme and with an external approach give an answer to the topic that is presented. And this results in high quality artworks with an international resonance because it is important for us to have this external view on what Bruges was, is, or can be in the future. Now, the concept of having an international or a national presentation about art and this active dialogue between contemporary and historical is not new. I want to refer to the Bruges Triennials in the 60s. That was the first time that they were organized in the city center. The approach was a little bit different as we know it today, because it was only focused on contemporary art, so architecture was not in the picture yet. And it was in an inside space. So here you can see a historical picture of when it was organized in the city halls for 2 editions, and then one time it was organized in the Beurshalle. That's the location where we are today, but of course we are in the new building, the BMCC today. Now, in 2015, this concept of creating the dialogue between the heritage and the contemporary was reintroduced, but there were several main extras or differences. It was organized in public space, so no longer in an inside space, and contemporary art was combined with architecture. So it was not only focused anymore on the contemporary art, but we combined both to give this extra feature of how can I say, to make us in comparison to other biennials that are organized in the world that are mostly focused on art or architecture, we specialize ourselves in combining those two. This dialogue with Bruges historical context is super important for us and for the way how Visit Bruges also approaches tourism, because we want to show this more authentic city to the visitors. We place these installations alongside its waterways on the cobbled streets in the peaceful places that we all recognize from the images we see in visitor brochures. But it is important for us to show this multi-layered perspective. I'll quickly take you through some projects that were realized in the past. So here we see the 1st edition, an installation of Vibeke Jensen. She's from Norway, and she installed an installation on the market square, so very central. The topic then in 2015 was actually a question. What if the 5 million visitors that visit Bruges every year would actually decide to stay here, to live here in the city center? Because as you know, the heritage, the egg of Bruges, as they call it, is protected, so we are not like a metropolis. We cannot add new buildings or big skyscrapers in the city center. So the approach of the 2015 edition was very much about urbanism and how can we expand or be creative with the context that we have. In 2015, we approached the city from a different perspective. Then the curatorial team based itself on some theories written by Zygmunt Bauman. He was a Polish sociologist and philosopher. And he created a series of research about our liquid society, how our ways of encounter changed over the years. And here you see a picture of the installation by Jaroslaw Kozakiewicz, who installed a bridge, and the intention of this edition, called or entitled Liquid City, was to create encounters, meaningful encounters between visitors, between locals, in a way that you have a one-to-one connection again, and that you're not strangers anymore circulating through the same atmosphere. Here you can also see an image of the 2018 edition. It was very popular. It was a swimming platform created by an architecture office called Celhascano. They are Spanish. And they created this place on the waters, on the canals, who are, of course, very typical for our city. But they gave the canals back to both visitors and locals. And it was a very nice summer hangout. In 2021, the topic back then was called trauma. And the main focus was to show Bruges in all its facets. So we know the city as a picture-perfect place, a very beautiful historical setting that is renowned for its heritage. But of course, people not always realize the fact that people also live in the city center, and also daily life occurs with all its positive but also negative aspects. And 12 artists and architects again were invited to propose an installation or an art piece that works with this dialogue or this contrast between picture perfect and also the daily life of the city. And to give you an idea, because the Bruges Triennial is only temporary, it's during the summer, but it really gives this sense of an atmosphere that things are happening in the city center, and there's this idea of transformation that occurs during these 3 months. And I have a small video here to show you how it actually changes the perception of the city for that limited amount of time. So maybe we can have a look.